welcome again to today's workshop. Before we begin, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Sanjeevni, and I have completed my master's in clinical psychology, and I work as a psychologist here at MindTribe. I specialize in areas such as anxiety, overthinking, relationship concerns, narcissistic abuse, and sleep concerns. So, the co host for today is Ms. Kanika Mohan. Kanika, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Kanika. I'm a counselor here at MindTribe. I primarily deal with cases related to anxiety, depression, grief, stress, relationship issues, just to name a few. I quickly want to just go through some ground rules that we have for this workshop. So the first is please keep your cameras and mics off throughout the duration of this workshop. If you have any queries, if you have any comments, then you can use the chat box feature or the hand raise feature that is present. I'll be taking over the chat box. So if you have any queries, you can type it in there and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And thank you once again for joining in on this workshop. And I hope that you guys get a lot of relevant information from this. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Right. Thank you, Kanika. So, by the end of this workshop, you should be able to understand how to integrate creativity in our life and also understand how therapy can support in this journey. Right? Okay. So, we'll start with a small activity. Right? So, I want you to introduce yourself using a color that represents your current mood. So, there's an example here. I'm feeling yellow because I'm excited to explore new ideas. So why don't you introduce yourself using a color? You can put it in the chat box, or you can unmute and let me know. Orange, because I became okay just before this workshop only after practicing music. Oh, that's wonderful, Sri Lakshmi. Blue, Kush. Okay, that's great. Anyone else? Anu says black. Okay. Ankita says white because I'm feeling blank. Okay. Janvi, white, peace, calm, security. Okay. Kanvi says white, currently calm to listen and learn. Great. Afina says lavender. Wow. Kanak says yellow. Okay. So different colors, right? That's great. That's great. Okay. So let me tell you what we'll explore today, right? So we'll explore what creativity really is and why it matters, and some common barriers to creativity and how to overcome them. We will also learn about the connection between creativity and mental health and how therapy supports the creative growth. Yeah. And also explore some simple steps to cultivate creative habits. And yeah, I'll also be sharing some resources for continued practice. So that I'll be sharing towards the end of the workshop. Okay. So let's start. Let's start with a small, simple question. That is, what is creativity? Right? Because most people immediately think of painting, music, or writing books when they hear the word creativity. Right? But in reality, it's much bigger than just arts. Yeah. It's not just limited to talent or producing masterpieces, but it's about using your imagination to see possibilities beyond what already exists. So, in other words, it's moving from as it is to as it could be, right? And Albert Einstein once said, creativity is intelligence having fun, right? It's creativity that is intelligence having fun. That means whenever we play with ideas, experiment, or come up with new ways of doing things, we are being creative, right? So, at its heart, creativity helps us think beyond the dead ends whenever we feel stuck, right? Also, discover new solutions where old ones might not work. And also, most importantly, find joy and meaning in expressing ourselves, whether through art, through problem solving, cooking, or even how we approach our daily life. So, creativity isn't just about creating art, but it's about creating the possibilities, right? Okay. Now, why is creativity so deeply tied to our well being? That is our mental health. Right? So that's because two things. First is self awareness, that is, understanding yourself better. So creativity shines a light on your inner world, right? So when you write, draw, or create, you often uncover those thoughts and feelings you didn't even realize you had. So this makes you more aware of your emotions, your patterns, and your needs. So, for example, journaling regularly makes you notice that your stress is highest right before your, let's say, family gatherings. So this way, it helps you understand and prepare your triggers. Correct? And also, when it comes to emotional expression, that is giving words, colors, or rhythm to your feelings, which you can't always see. So sometimes, emotions are so big, it's too complicated for words, right? So that's when creative outlets like music, art, or dance, they let you express them freely without any explanation or judgment, right? So it's a safe way to release what's inside. So example here could be, playing drums might help someone channel their bottled up anger into rhythm without having to talk about it, right? Also, there's cognitive benefits, that is sharper thinking, being more flexible when it comes to problem solving. So when you engage the creative strengths in the brain, right, it encourages flexible thinking. So it helps you consider multiple perspectives and improves problem solving skills that transfer to your everyday life, right? So example I could give here is, solving puzzles or writing stories teaches you to see the challenges from different angles, right? In that way, it's making you more adaptable, right? Also, there's a sense of achievement, that is finishing even a small creative task, right? That will boost your self worth. So, no matter how small it is, it gives you a sense of pride and accomplishment. So, each small creative win, it builds your confidence and it motivates you to try more and more, right? So, one example could be, finishing a small sketch or writing a short poem might bring a satisfaction like, I did it. Yeah, that moment. And that eventually lifts your self esteem, right? Yeah. And finally, there's mindfulness and relaxation because creativity brings you into the flow, right? That calm state of mind. So, these creative activities naturally get you into that flow state where you're fully present and you kind of lose track of time, right? So, this calm in the mind reduces your stress and creates a sense of inner peace. Yeah. So, some of you, I don't know, while painting, you might become so absorbed in colors and strokes that all your worries might fade away, right? Leaving you refreshed and relaxed, right? Yeah, most of you do agree with this. Okay, so we have a small activity here. I'll say a word and I want you to quickly write in the chat box the first word that comes to your mind. Right? You don't have to overthink it. The first word which comes in your mind, just put it in the chat box. Okay. So the first word is flower, rose, freshness, sunflower, color, beauty, nature, garden, yellow, yes, color, right, petals, lotus, wonderful, wonderful. Fragrance, right, color. Perfect. Now, another word is home. Mama, peace, safe, calm. Mother, mother, sick. Oh, happiness, chaos, family, right, love, comfort, happy place, rest. Yeah, exactly. Many different emotions, right, tied to this. Peace, exactly. Okay. Another word is dream. Sleep, yeah, sleep. Only sleep, anything else? Research, creative, nightmare, prosperity, insomnia. Okay, nightmare, imagination, success. Okay, see, the word dream has different interpretations, right? Travel. Okay, that's wonderful. Nightmare. Right, right. Conscience. Yes. The final word is smile. Hmm. Happiness, calm, right? Fear. Often. Okay. Happiness, right? Sunny day. Teeth, right? See? So you do notice, right, how each word is uniquely personal to all of us. So we all associate these words with something different, right? That's very personal, right? That's really great. Okay. Now, so let's explore some of the creative hobbies, right? There are different art forms, right? Like the expressions of creativity. First is visual arts. So I won't go much detail, I'll just touch upon these topics. There's drawing and painting, photography, crafting, right? If I talk about performing arts, there is music, dance, theater. And when it comes to writing, there's journaling, poetry, blogging. Yeah. And there is also digital arts, under which there's graphic design, video editing. And if I talk about crafting and DIY, there's home projects and upcycling. And some of the underrated ones are problem solving, which happens in our daily lives, right? So, creativity isn't about producing a masterpiece, but it's all about allowing yourself to explore, right? Now, how are we going to integrate creativity into our lives? So, that is important, right? How do we do that? Because a lot of us think creativity is like lightning, one, it suddenly strikes and then the inspiration hits, but it doesn't happen like that. The truth is creativity grows more like a plant, right? Slowly with small consistent care. So let's talk about this now. Okay, so it's important to establish a routine because creativity absolutely loves consistency. It's less about waiting for the perfect idea or you know sh- it's more about showing up regularly. So even 10 minutes a day, right, it can make a huge difference. For example, write a few lines in your journal or doodle in the margins of your paper while sipping your morning coffee, or practice a chord on your guitar before going to bed. So, think of this like brushing your teeth, right? So you don't wait until you feel inspired to do that. Correct. You build it into your routine, and over time, it becomes a natural habit. And remember, guys, you don't have to create a masterpiece every time. Just showing up, that counts. Yeah. And then explore new activities, because sometimes creativity wakes up when we step out of our comfort zone. So trying something new can actually spark the ideas in unexpected ways. So maybe take a pottery class or try salsa dancing or even explore coding. Yeah. Or you can cross pollinate. That is, if you're a writer, you can try painting. If you're a musician, you can try photography. Yeah. So these fresh experiences, right? They light up your different parts of the brain, and most often these ideas from one field might spill over to the other. It's like adding new colors to your creative palette. Yeah. Okay. So the third one is create your own space, because creativity also needs a home, right? And no, it does not have to be a big studio or an art room, right? It could be just a corner of your desk or a cozy chair with your notebook, and even a folder, right, in your phone where you can store your ideas. The key here is that it feels inspiring and that signals your brain, okay, this is my creative zone, right? So, for example, one participant had previously told me that she lights a scented candle while journaling. So that became her creative trigger, right? That ritual. So just see what works for you and give it a try. Yeah. And then set achievable goals, because dreams are big. It's beautiful, but it's like writing a novel or starting a YouTube channel or building an art portfolio, right? So you need to have achievable goals for that. If the goals are too big, they can be overwhelming, right? So that's why setting smaller achievable goals is more powerful. So a short-term goal could be, finishing one sketch this week, or writing one single page of story per week. And eventually, long-term goal would be build a smaller collection of your work by the end of the year, right? Have a portfolio towards the end of the year, right? So each small step adds up. And the best part is, it builds momentum, right? And finally, reflect and celebrate. Because this part is, most often overlooked. We don't reflect and celebrate because creativity isn't just about making things. It's also about noticing the journey, right? So journaling helps you track your growth. You might realize that what felt awkward a month ago might start feeling natural, right? So celebration doesn't have to be huge. So treat yourself to your favorite snack, your favorite ice cream, or call a friend to share your progress, or simply say, I did it, right? So these small acknowledgements, they fuel your motivation and make the progress, make the process joyful, right? So remember, guys, creativity isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, experimenting, and enjoying the process. So if you nurture it with routine, curiosity, and celebration, creativity will naturally grow into a part of your everyday life, right? All right. So now we'll talk about some of the common barriers that stop us. Because let's be honest, if creativity were always this easy, we'd be doing it every day, right? But the truth is, there are some common barriers that kind of hold us back. So we have four which we'll be exploring now, and I want you to notice which feel most familiar to you. Yeah. First is perfectionism. That's the fear of not being good enough. Like how many times you've thought that I'll draw, but only if it turns out perfect, or I'll start writing once I'm sure I'll be amazing. Right. So this perfectionism is what convinces us that something is if something's not flawless, it's not worth doing, right? How many of you relate to this, right? Exactly. Yes, Reshma, please go ahead. Okay. So what happens is, in reality, creativity is messy by nature, right? It thrives on trial and error, so or happy accidents, and you kind of learn along the way, right? So if you wait until you feel perfect, you may never actually begin, right? So the solution is to embrace the imperfection. So think of every attempt as a practice, not performance. So progress, curiosity, and enjoyment, they matter more than perfection. So for example, doodle for fun without worrying what it looks like. You don't have to worry about it being a masterpiece. Right? Every scribble, that's a step forward. Right? Then there is fear of judgment. That is worrying what others might think. This is actually one of the biggest reasons we silence our creativity. Fearing that what people might say. What if they laugh at my poem, or what if my painting looks childish, or what if I'm not as good as others? But the truth is, creativity is extremely personal, right? That's your unique voice, your way of seeing the world, right? So you don't need to prove anything to anyone. And most often, when we judge others, it actually reflects their own insecurities and not your worth. Correct? Right. So the solution is to create for yourself first. You don't need to share everything that you make, right? Share only once you feel you're ready. And remind yourself that your creativity doesn't require external approval in order to feel valuable, right? Okay. Now, this lack of time. This is another common one, right? Because life gets busy. So, between work, studies, chores, family, creative hobbies, they feel like luxuries, right? But the good news is you don't need hours and hours for this. Even a small burst of creativity can bring joy and relief, right? So the solution is you can start small. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day is enough. Keep a sketch pad on your desk, a journal by your bed, or a guitar by your chair, right? So that way, when you have spare moment, right, it's easy to slip creativity into your routine, right? So, for example, you can jot down 3 lines before bed, doodle when you're on a call, or take a creative photo, right, when you're on a walk. So those little moments now they add up. And finally, there is overwhelm. That is, you get too many ideas at once. But the funny thing is, these ideas, right? Like when they come together, that's what creates a block, right? It's too many, right? We feel the overload. You know, uh, it could be like you want to start a YouTube channel or learn photography or try painting, but in that process, you haven't tried any of them. So that is called creative paralysis, right? So the solution is break things down, choose one idea and start small. So divide the bigger projects into smaller, doable steps, right? So example could be, if you want to write a book, start with one paragraph. So if you want to paint, begin with one canvas. So small steps, they reduce overwhelm and eventually build momentum, right? Okay. So does anyone have any questions at this point? Okay. So Sri Lakshmi says perfectionism in me was uh, and now trying to let go of it slowly. Okay. Yes, Ankita, please go ahead. All right. So small ad break, right? Just like in YouTube, if it's free, there's a small ad. So I'll talk a little bit about one-on-one counseling. So one-on-one counseling is a personalized, confidential session that happens between a client and a trained therapist. It is mostly for personal growth, problem solving, goal setting. Yes, Ankita, I'll get back to you. Just give me 1 minute, huh? Okay. Then there are a few common misconceptions about counseling that it's only for those who are sick, but in reality, it's for anyone who wants to be the best version of themselves, be it in relationships, friendships, academic success, or career advancement. Right? So, why choose MindTribe Counseling? Because we have a team of highly trained counselors and it's at affordable charges starting from 800 to 5,000 depending on the seniority of the counselor. And the first session is at a minimal cost of 249, and we also have affordable packages as well, right? So if you have any questions, you may ask now. Otherwise, Kanika and I will be sharing our details on WhatsApp after the workshop. Okay, so Ankita, I believe, raised your hand. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so Devika says, whenever I start doing something, I always think that I'll never going to share this with other people. But when I talk to my friends, I start oversharing. Okay. But after the end of call, I feel so dumb to share. And especially when I stop doing that thing because of any reason, most of the time, the reason were I feel sad because of some argument with family, with close ones, and I start overthinking. I feel really bad. So, Devika, what you're going through is completely normal, right? Like we all have these moments. So, we will touch upon these topics as well, how therapy, how talking about it would eventually help you out. So you can get back to me towards the end of this workshop regarding this, right? How to do journaling creatively, ma'am. So yes, so these questions will be answered towards the second half, right, of the workshop. So I'll let you know. Perfect, perfect. All right. So now we'll talk about discovering your creative calling, because sometimes creativity isn't about a skill but it's about rediscovery, right? So these are ways to reconnect. First is follow your curiosity, because creativity often begins with curiosity, right? So have you ever noticed yourself getting drawn to something random, like you're watching a pottery reel or admiring how someone decorates their notebook, right? So that spark of curiosity is your creative calling. Please don't ignore it, follow it. It doesn't have to be useful or productive. Sometimes it's just about exploring. What it is, just explore more on it. For example, if a pottery video on Instagram, right, fascinates you, why not sign up for a weekend class or try making your own mug, right? The other one is embracing beginner's mind. So, one of the biggest creativity killer is the thought that I'm not good at this. right? That's a common one also. We forget that creativity isn't about being perfect, but it's about being playful, right? So allow yourself to be a beginner, to make mistakes, to enjoy the process. Think of, a child who draws a tree with purple leaves, right? They're not worrying about if it's right or wrong, right? They have the freedom. So why don't you practice that, right? So like, another example could be, picking up the guitar or sketching like a child. It could be messy, playful, but without any judgment. Yeah. And third is finding inspiration in unexpected places. So creativity doesn't always come from grand events, right? It often hides in small, ordinary moments. It could be a walk in the nature or casual conversation. Even the way raindrops, they slide down the window, that can spark an idea, right? So, those raindrops might inspire a poem or a photo or even design for your own room, right? Then revisit your childhood joys, because as kids we were never questioned about the creativity, we just did it. So we sang loudly, we danced freely, we drew with crayons, we built forts with bed sheets, right? And we got lost in the imagination. But somewhere along the way, adulthood, that made us feel self-conscious. So revisiting those childhood joys, right, that can ignite your spark. For example, if you loved singing as a child, hum again while you cook, or maybe join a local music group just for fun, right? And fifth is exploring micro creativity, that is daily small acts. So you don't need 3 hours or a studio to be creative, right? Creativity can live in little moments in your day, throughout the day, right? For example, doodle in your notebook while you're on a call. That's a, I keep repeating this, right? Write 2 lines in a journal each night and take a quick photo of something that catches your eye. It could be a sunset, right? Or it could be rain. So these tiny acts are like push-ups, how we do in the gym, push-ups for our creative muscle. So they're small but powerful over time. And finally, seek out for new experiences, because creativity thrives when we step outside our routine. So, new experiences, they open up new perspectives, and these new perspectives fuel fresh ideas, right? So, example could be, try traveling to new place, attend a workshop, or taste a new cuisine, right? Or simply take a different route home, yeah, not the regular route. So even small changes, they shift how you see the world. Okay. So we have one more activity right now. Take 2 minutes and write down something you love doing as a child, and then reflect. Is it still part of you today? And also think, what would it feel like if you brought back that piece of you? I'll give you an example. Okay. So when I was a child, I loved making greeting cards for every occasion. So that was my way of showing care and being creative. But somewhere along the way, I stopped doing it. But even now, I realize if I brought it back, maybe by making a simple card once in a while, that would make me feel lighter, more connected, and more joyful again. Right? So think about your own childhood joys. What was it? And how could you bring it back? So you can unmute and tell me, or you can put it in the chat box. Okay. Lakshmi says, music, I'm still doing dancing. I learned how now dance freely. Okay. Greeting card making for friends. I stopped. Handicraft. Yes, I stopped. Neha says, I overthink a lot of things that don't even happen. Right. Sometimes unable to sleep. My mind just thinking every time. Right, Neha? Sri Lakshmi says, I want to bring it back. Maybe at least greeting card. Right. So Suchita says, swimming, which I still enjoy. Yes. Janvi says, playing with my mother's dupatta by reminiscing her in me. Oh, uh, now not playing, but keeping it with me. That's really great. That's really sweet. Reshma says, drawing. Rena says, dressing up. Yes. Shubha says, I was good at everything, but never became better. Yes. Kunal, capturing the moments, video and photography. Uh, Neha says walking and observing nature. Yes. Kanvi says singing. Okay, you left. I will resume very soon. That's good. Started listening to English songs again. Perfect. Kanak says I love dancing when I was child. Yeah. Amar says play outdoor games and practice music. Yes, that's one activity which we never do. Go outside and play, right? So Reshma says me too creating. Yeah, greeting cards are a common one, right? Most of, especially girls, I think, can relate to. Um, I do makeup. Amar says travel. Alexandria says I used to love taking pictures. Now I've stopped. I used to make small areas home. Yeah, decorate place, right? Dancing, writing, yoga, right, Vasant? So Reshma says singing without even bothering whether it's good or bad, right? Devika says my child I used to dance a lot, like 3 to 4. Wow, because I enjoyed it. Steps were not perfect, yes, but still do try. Um, because I used to love it and I used to spend lots of time in nature, but nowadays I don't. Yeah. See, this is the one of the barrier, right? We've grown up, we're so consumed with everyday activities. Yes, Srilakshmi, please go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, sure.
Because it's 5 years ago, before I began preparing for a competitive exam, I used to sing karaoke. I
Mm-hmm.
already started singing late, like karaoke music. The other Carnatic music I was learning, but
Mm-hmm.
karaoke I started in college, and then 5 years ago I stopped it because I started to prepare for my exam. Then now again, when some chance like opportunity comes to sing, now I am like feeling a block to sing. I think I need to sing. Will it turn out to be bad? Maybe it will go wrong. Then I'm like to when I get an opportunity, I'm like I should. I it will give if it may go bad again. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I have lost that touch. So I am
Right.
like fearing many things in my mind when I
Mm-hmm.
am thinking. So I'm like, if then I'm like, if I go and perform also, it is some people I don't know. Why should I do this? Like something is blocking me, but I want to go. I don't want to go. So how can I overcome that block, creative block?
Right. Thank you, Srilakshmi, for sharing this because this, what you shared, right? The fear, that's a very, very common one which most of us experience, right? Because when we were young, no one judged us. We were free to do whatever we want. Now we are like, what if they comment something? What if, they say something about my singing, right?
Ma'am,
Yeah,
especially this exam has a burnout effect on me. So that is causing this thing also. So how
right,
can
right. Remember what we spoke about? So creativity is not about talent at all, right? It's about expression. So, it's about how they make you feel towards the end, right? So, it doesn't matter, the time restrictions, what others say. It's a way of you being yourself and expressing it in a way, right? So, take it small, start small. If you want, you can start singing in your own room, right? You don't have to go
am
out.
I doing am I doing
Yeah,
that now? I'm practicing music.
that's great. That's great. So you've already started the process, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
right. So, guys, I want you to Google Grandma Moses, right? So her paintings, Grandma Moses paintings. If you Google, right, they're beautiful paintings, and you're not gonna believe she started painting at the age of 78. Right? Can you believe it? At 78, she started painting, and they're beautiful ones. So, there's no age limit when it comes to expressing ourselves, doing something which we enjoy doing, right? So always, there's just make sure that you have that space where you can be yourself, right? And just put it out there that you're not doing it for anyone else, but you're doing it for you, right? Okay. Someone else raised their hand. Yeah. All right. So let's have a look at the chat. So Kunal says gardening. Kanak says, but after mother left, Life changed. That happens, right? Alexandria says play basketball, that too reducing, right? Pratik says earlier I used to create spontaneously and freely, however, now I always feel like whenever I create, not good enough. See, that's what, we kind of begin to compare, okay, is it good enough? Right? The thing is, you're not doing it for anyone, you're doing it for yourself, right, Pratik? So Anu says, my mom is a tailor. So she's saying, I was 10 years old. I love to sew dress for my doll. But once when I was in class 8, my aunt took all those dresses and gave to a poor lady, okay? And told me that, okay, but, hmm, right, searching for IT job, but, right. So Anu, if you want, we can connect after the session. We can talk more about this, right? Okay, so Devika says completely related. Right, exactly. So most of you relate to what you guys have told each other, right? But yeah, I do want you to Google Grandma Moses, right, and her paintings. That will actually kind of inspire you, right? Okay. Now let's talk about the link between creativity and therapy. So how does therapy actually support creativity, right? So, creativity as a self expression. So, that is a non-verbal way of giving voice to our deepest emotions, right? Because not all emotions are easy to put into words. Sometimes, grief, anger, joy, they feel too overwhelming, right? So, creative activities like drawing, music, or dance, they allow those emotions to flow in a safe and non-verbal way. What happens in therapy is expression is a crucial part for healing, right? So creative outlets, they kind of become an additional path for clients who struggle to articulate those feelings directly, so making therapy so much more effective, right? The other one is problem solving and flexibility. So that is thinking unconventionally or shifting perspective and novel solutions, right? So creativity encourages us to look at challenges from different angles, right? When one method doesn't work, we experiment and adapt until we find another way. Similarly, what happens in therapy is uh, therapy helps client reframe those negative thinking patterns and shifting from I can't to maybe I can in a different way, right? So creative thinking pattern, it supports this by training the mind to explore alternative solutions, right? And then there is mindfulness and focus. So when we're deeply engaged in a creative activity, we often lose track of time, right? So this is the flow state, which allows us to pause our overthinking mind, right, and focus entirely in the present moment. In therapy, what happens is mindfulness is used as a tool to check in with our thoughts and feelings without any judgment. So, creativity naturally brings this mindfulness, whether it's through painting, writing, playing an instrument. Yeah. And finally, accessing the subconscious. So, creativity acts like a mirror, right? It highlights those unseen parts. So, these creative expressions, they often bring out those symbols, images, or themes that come from those subconscious mind. So, those feelings or memories we may not be fully aware of in our conscious mind, right? So, as you can see, only 10% of conscious mind is active, 90% is hidden, right? So, a therapist might notice these patterns like art, dreams, or stories and use them as gentle entry points to explore what's happening beneath the surface. So, this, it helps us uncover those hidden emotions, and we work through resolving the issues in a safe way, right? Now, let's understand how therapy is a key to unlocking and enhancing your creative potential, right? The role of therapy. So it helps in identifying and overcoming those creative blocks. So almost everyone, right, they carry some hidden fears, right? We also discussed the fears, right, that block us when it comes to creativity. So sometimes it's the fear of failure, like, what if I mess up? Sometimes it's perfection, like it has to look perfect, or else it's not worth doing. And very often it's just plain self doubt. Like, I'm not creative enough. That's it. Right? That's the self doubt. Right? But what happens is very few people are truly not creative. Many are, in fact, creative. What happens is like the fear of being judged or not being good enough. That is silencing that creative voice. So, this is where therapy steps in. So, a therapist helps you gently unpack those fears, like where they come from, what messages you might have picked up in the past, and then gradually replaces them with a healthier belief. Right? So, over time, what happens? Therapy creates a sense of safety. So, you experiment, you try, and you create without the constant worry of failing. So, for example, someone who always loved painting but stopped after teacher, right, once criticized their work, they through therapy might rediscover the joy again, right, this time without that weight of judgment. Correct? Right. Then there is boosting confidence and self-esteem, because creativity is an act of courage, right? So think about it, like even sharing a simple doodle, or a poem, or singing out loud, that takes confidence, right? Because you're putting a piece of yourself out in the world. Correct? When our self esteem is low, those small creative risks feel terrifying. Correct? But when therapy helps us build confidence, something in us shifts. It teaches self compassion, and it quietly, quite helps us quiet the inner critic voice. Inner critic is, that inner voice that keeps saying, this is not good enough, or people will laugh at you. Right? So therapy helps you replace those thoughts with something more empowering. Like, I deserve to create because creativity brings me joy. Right? And when you create from that space, when the motivation is joy instead of fear, you feel so much more lighter, freer, and more authentic. So the outcome doesn't matter as much. It's the act itself that fills you in. Right? I hope I'm making sense. Right. So finally, there is exploring new perspectives and approaches. Another way therapy supports creativity is by helping us break free from stuck patterns. Sometimes in life and in art, right, we end up repeating the same things again and again. The same thoughts, same routine, same ideas come up, right? So that stuckness can leave us feeling very uninspired or closed off, right? Yeah. So a therapist might help you guide you through those challenges, those fixed beliefs, to things like you know thinking like this is the only way that can be done, or I'm not allowed to try something new. So therapy, what it does is encourages you to experiment, to look at problems from different angles, and to step into the unknown part. That fresh perspective is often what sparks new ideas, right? And that's the best part. It doesn't just help you in your creative projects, but it also spills over in your daily life. So suddenly you're not only more imaginative in your art, but you also know how to handle the challenges at work, or in relationships, or in general problem solving, right? So for example, someone who always thought that they were bad at writing, they might, through therapy, be encouraged to try journaling without being judged, and discover that their writing actually helps them in the process of emotional venting, or even spark creative stories, creative writing, right? Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, we are surrounded by creativity in everyday life, right? It could be through films, songs, stories. So you think about it. Think about the last time you watched a beautifully written movie, beautifully shot movie, right? Or listened to a song that kind of gave you goosebumps. So that feeling you had, right? That was the spark. That is creativity being awakened in you, right? For example, watching a movie like Spirited Away, right? That can inspire you to think about the details in nature, or listening to A.R. Rahman's music might give you that emotional spark that lead you to write a poem, or reading about Frida Kahlo's life can remind you of resilience and expression, right? So when you consume art, you don't just watch or listen. You notice how that makes you feel, and you ask yourself, how can I express this feeling in my own way, right? Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the online platforms as well. So internet, has made learning so much more accessible than ever, right? So platforms like Skillshare, Coursera, Masterclass are amazing playgrounds for creativity. For example, there's this Emily Gold's um, Creative Writing for All course, which is on Skillshare. It encourages you to write daily, even in small doses. And there is Penn State's Creative Innovation and Change on Coursera, which gives practical exercises to reframe the thinking. And yes, even a cooking class with Gordon Ramsay, right, on Masterclass can unlock the creative approaches in the kitchen, right? So the point here is you don't have to wait for inspiration. You can actively nurture it by learning from people who are actually living creativity, right? Okay. Now, if you're a reader, there are some gems you must explore. There is a Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert that teaches you to embrace curiosity and let go of fear. There is a Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon, which shows you that creativity isn't about originality, but it's about remixing and making things your own way. There is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield that dives into resilience and procrastination and how to move through them. So books like these, they don't just give you ideas, they kind of shift your mindset, which is actually the heart of creative living, right? Okay. Now, one of the most powerful things that you can do is surround yourself with creative people, because creativity is contagious. So when you're around others who are exploring, experimenting, and sharing ideas, it naturally fuels your own, right? For example, you can join a local art or writing meetup, or explore Reddit or Discord groups where people share their work, and attend events like creative mornings. Even small group discussions can actually spark the fresh inspiration. Yeah. So remember, your creativity doesn't need to live in isolation. Share it with others, and it multiplies its power. Right? Okay. So as we close, I want to leave you with one key message, that creativity isn't a one-time project. It's actually a way of living. Right? So creativity is a lifelong practice. As John Cleese said it beautifully, that creativity is not a talent, it's a way of operating. So that means, it's in the little small things, how you cook your meal, how you solve your problem at work, how you doodle in your notebook. You feed into that curiosity. You allow yourself to try, fail, and play. So the more you practice, the more naturally creativity comes out, right? So thank you so much for being part of this workshop and being so interactive. You may leave the call, or if anyone has any doubt, the floor is all yours. Yes.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
ma'am,
Shailesh.
ma'am, can I ask, ma'am, you told to start small. I have already started it 1 month ago. So
Mm-hmm,
now I sing, at least from my music class, I sing in my room to my
mm-hmm,
mom. I sing to my family, and then I got some opportunity. But
mm-hmm.
because this burnout and burnout, such things are happening in my life right now. Some anxiety issues, stress issue. So I am like,
Right.
now I am not ready for appearing in a crowd. So it is
Mm,
okay to not appear until I feel right, until I feel fully ready, right? Like not
yeah,
perfectionism, but I feel now I don't need to appear in front of a crowd. Just I need to do myself. Then one day after 1 month, maybe I will be okay. Like I can be like that, right?
absolutely, absolutely. See, the goal is not to, put pressure on yourself. it's completely opposite of what you're telling. The main intent
Yes,
is
ma'am.
to feel
Yes.
lighter, to feel fresh, to feel good about ourselves, right? So at any point we feel, let us, get over our, the burnout, the aspect. Let that be the focus, and then I will definitely continue what I love doing, right? So you don't
Thank you,
have to
ma'am.
pressure. Yeah, perfect. So anyone else has any doubt? Yes, Reshma,
Excuse
please
me,
go ahead.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, ma'am, I want to
Can you hear
discuss my
me?
problem with you.
One second. Who's speaking? Kanak, I'll get back to you. Reshma, I think you raised your hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I used to dance a lot. I love dancing, uh, but my family is not interested in that career. So
Mm-hmm.
they wanted me to choose like uh, something like engineering, doctor, that field. Study. They want me to study furthermore. So I
Mm-hmm.
chose a career that I opted at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
right now I'm preparing for an competitive exam. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel lot detached from dancing. I do want to go back to dancing, but right now I'm at a lot of pressure and
Right.
uh, how can I go back? How can I go along with all these things? So I have to look after my career and I have to make some money. Financially weak,
Mm-hmm.
so my family's your point of view like dancing won't give you enough money to live. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to prepare for some other things in life. So I am right now I'm trying for getting a MBA and a job and
Mm-hmm.
settle down. But I also don't wanna get loose to the dance. I love to
Mm-hmm.
dance. So
Right, right.
do you have
Thank you so
any
much for sharing
advice?
this, Reshma. Yeah, yeah. So, that's our passion, right? Passion versus, what our expectations are from our parents. So there's a conflict happening there, right? Whether, it is the inner, what is it, fulfillment that you have to um, uh, go to, or whether it's the external family pressures, that you have to adhere to, right? So there's a
Yes, ma'am.
conflict
Yes.
going on. Correct. Right. So this is where, you come in, where your priorities lie, right? Whether you feel, realistically what might help you. So you have to consider the possibilities, right? That doesn't mean that, you are now, let's say, you get into a job, a corporate job after MBA, right? But that doesn't mean that you have to completely let go of your passion, which is dance, right? So somewhere make way for your passion as well, because that's what keeps you alive, right? That spark, that excitement, when you are on the dance floor, when you are being your authentic self, right? So just
Yes, ma'am.
prioritize needs, right? Because somewhere, the family, their consideration also has to be taken. We can't completely ignore that. So if you want, we can talk more about this, right? You can connect with me. I'll share my details on WhatsApp group, right? So, but yeah,
Okay, ma'am.
my
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, just do hold on to your passion. Please don't let that go, right? Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
uh, perfect. So, think Kanak, raise your hand, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Ma'am, my problem is very much, matlab childhood problem. From since childhood, I am facing.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, I
Okay.
don't know, but about some past trauma or accident which keeps occurring in my mind and dreams and haunts me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
Okay.
unable to sleep from few days.
Oh,
I'm, ma'am, I can't share it now. Ma'am, it's very troubling for me.
okay.
Sorry.
Kanak, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. We're going through this. If you want, let's
From
connect. So
childhood, I'm facing
yeah,
so many problems that I can't tell you. It's not.
right,
My treatment is going on from childhood only. I've been eating so many medicines, but not a single medicine has cured me. I don't know what I
mm,
have to do.
right, right. I'm so sorry,
Like
Kanak.
when my
Yeah,
mother left me, then also I have tried to become so strong. Then also, sorry, ma'am. I,
no, no, no. It's okay. See,
Ma'am, I
what you're
want
going
to
through is,
talk to you
yeah,
personally. Please talk to me personally.
sure, sure, dear. We'll do that, huh? So I will be giving my details. Please do connect with me, right?
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, you're strong, Kanak. You're a very strong girl. Hmm? We will talk
Ma'am,
about this. We will
how
figure.
many times I can't deal with it alone.
Hmm. Right. No, because we all need help at some point, right? So
Ma'am,
you
we
are
all
in the
need
right
someone
space.
that will who will understand me. I
Hmm.
feel sometimes I feel like suicidal thoughts come in my mind, but
Oh, okay. So Kanak, please do message me on WhatsApp. So after the call, we'll quickly connect. Okay. Hmm?
thank you.
Don't worry. We'll figure things out. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I will get back to you for sure. Yes. Faya, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Please go
So
ahead.
it's something similar to what others also shared, but
Mm-hmm.
I had this habit of some doing some crafts and making some clay models and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's like 5 6 years I stopped it. The only hobby I have right now is like taking photos and some kind of photography or videography. But apart from that, I don't literally have no hobby. But always I
Mm-hmm.
think of restarting all over again. But I'm doing my masters right now, so it's kind of hectic. So I'll think that I'll do all of my assignments, all of my home assignments and field work and everything. I'll do everything and then I'll do it. But then every time I'll just end up not doing, but like
Mm-hmm.
last 1 month, I'm taking a step more. Like I'm trying to take some inspo. Like I used to save some reel or something so that I can just get some inspiration. I'll do it, but I'll just
Mm-hmm.
end up not doing it. I even have a to do list of a very long. So I'll think that okay, I have a lot of things to do right now, which
Yeah.
I need which are like more urgent and more important. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it again and then I'll go for my hobby, but I'll end up doing nothing. So that's why I
Right.
don't know how to start from. I don't know like what's stopping me. So
Mm-hmm. So tell me something. Okay, what brought you joy earlier? Which was that activity you said?
I used to make some crafts
Right.
like lanterns or like whatever. Like it'll be like small, tiny, but I
Right.
feel a lot of uh, I feel good about myself when I do it. I used to have craft. I used to do crochet and
Right.
yeah, like paper crafts, origami kind of. But
Perfect. Perfect.
now, but now
Mm,
I literally for like maybe around like 5 6 years, I'm doing nothing. Till 10th,
mm,
12th I used to do, but now it's been like long. I stopped it.
right. So, can you just realistically asking, can you dedicate like 10 to 15 minutes per day for your something you like doing?
Mm,
Hmm?
yes,
So it's
yes.
right. So it's not like, you sit for like 3 hours straight and then make a huge art. Yeah. Yeah. So uh, yeah. It's more about those little things. Today you might just go to a craft store, collect whatever, because shopping itself kind of brings you joy, right? That's the first step. Correct.
Exactly. Mm.
Right. Because coming from my personal experience, I absolutely love these stores, right? Like art shops, like Itsy Bitsy, and it kind of gives me hope. Okay, yeah, I am going to do something. I'm going to purchase these quilling papers, and then I'm going to make something out of it, right? So that's the first step. Start collecting those things, whatever you want to do, and let's say on a weekend, right, when there is, you have time in your hands, just 15 minutes per day, right, on the weekends, like just open up your box, that craft box,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
pick out the things that you like doing. So these are little things you're taking forward towards the bigger artwork which you'll be doing eventually, right? So I'm just saying, rather than the box sitting in the cupboard towards the end of the shelf, right? Rather than that, take it out. You start coming in the zone, right? So build up eventually. So that's how momentum begins, right?
Yes, Nidhi.
Yeah, yeah. So do make space for this because that's what is giving you joy. I can see that, right?
Like, I
Uh,
also feel that like even if I contribute like 10 to 15 minutes, I
mhm.
feel like I'll like most of the things that I do, like it takes time. Like if, especially with, like trinket tray or something, if I wanna make it, it'll take like more than like 1 hour or 1 hour or 1 hour or 1.5 hours. So I feel like it'll take
Mm.
more time. So even if I do like 10 to 15 minutes, it'll be only thing I'll end up doing nothing. Like I
Mm.
might start, but
Right,
yeah.
right. So this is about again prioritization, right? It's something you enjoy doing versus the daily chores, daily activities which you have to focus on. So if you feel like this is the relaxing part of the day where you are with your art stuff, then shouldn't you prioritize that, right? I hope I'm making sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Give it time is what I'm saying, right? If you enjoy doing, don't put pressure on it, just take your time, but do practice to get back to that stage, right? Okay. So I think
Yes.
someone wanted the can we yeah, let me just go to that slide. You can take a screenshot. Yeah, so these are some of the online learning platforms. So you can check out the courses which I've written. Okay.
Ma'am, are these free courses?
Few are free, few are paid. So you might have to get into the Skillshare or Coursera page, and then you can check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for being so interactive. Yeah. Hope you have a great day, great weekend. Take care, everyone.